the end of an era, but the beginning of something new. Find out what's happening in the latest episode of the Kiki+Koko Let's NihonGO radio show, starting right now. こんにちは、Kiki+Kokoでございます。よろしくお願いいたします。Welcome to the Kiki+Koko Let's NihonGO radio show, brought to you by our gracious website host, i.e. /INDIGO.com, a site filled with art, music, videos, Japanese language learning and more. Join our electronic mailing list of tomorrow today to get the latest. And feel free to visit us there where you can learn Japanese for free. 完全無料って That's right, completely free. Well, for us it's not. But... Right, it's not free for us to make, but it's free for you to access. But if you do want to support the content, you can join our Patreon, which is patreon.com/IEINDIGOEAST. I think PayPal's linked on our site as well, and there's t-shirts and 'シール that also support the content, helping us continue to create content as well as making it better. Don't feel obligated if you can't. It's just sort of if you like. Exactly, just worth a mention. We really appreciate the few anonymous people who have helped, and the various people who have purchased the t-shirts and other apparel were able to start this new show because of your support. 本当に感謝しております。お世話になります。The takeaway here is that because of that, the content is there on the site and is available to everyone. Via the internet. Oh, yeah, that's a big thing now. Yeah. Very significant. Well, interestingly enough, we're talking about something very significant to history itself. Oh, very much so. Right now, whether you know it or not, you've experienced a historical event. Right, sure, some may remember the coronation of Her Majesty, others will remember the unveiling of the iPhone 26 or Rocky 7. Adrian's Revenge. But today, folks, we witnessed the dawn of a new era. And that's not metaphorical. No, this is literally one of the only times, or the few times in a lifetime, that you'd be able to say that, literally. Not figuratively, of course. But what exactly are we talking of? What is all this? Well, Koko, I'm glad you asked. Yes, Kiki. This is the natural flow of conversation. So, in Japan, when the new emperor takes a chrysanthemum throne... Pardon the what? Chrysanthemum throne. Why would you even pick that out? You literally say it the same way. I avoid saying it at all costs. Fair enough. So, when there's a new emperor in Japan, it brings the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. These eras are known as Gengo or Nengo. Right, Japanese era names not all that unlike the names of historical eras in the West, like when people refer to the Jacobean era or the Victorian era or the Elizabethan. Right. But in this case, we're still using era names like this, but the naming convention and usage itself is much different. Right, it's not as though it's simply named directly after the ruler of the time. Well, save for the Showa Jidai. Right, but that's posthumous naming. True. I think that's how you say it. I literally don't know. I'm so conscious of every word. You're welcome. But that's the naming of the era and the posthumous naming. That's totally different. There, it's a different case altogether. Yeah. So to put it simply, in Japan, the Gregorian calendar, the calendar we've all come to know and love, is used. The lunar calendar isn't without its charm. But of course. But it's not to do with months or days, it's really to do with years. Exactly. So, for example, the year 2000. Ancient history. I suppose so. The year is 2000. Knee socks, loose. Jelly shoes, sticky. Tamagotchi, long dead. Oh, jelly shoes. I quite miss those, I have to admit. No breathing room in them, though. I mean, I quite fancied, the tall shoes, the trainers with, we've got soles, the tall soles to them. I don't really... they're black and white with with the stripe? Yes. Yeah, those are brilliant. Yes. I mean, they've had to have made a comeback by now. Yeah. lot of injuries from those, I'll bet. Yeah, good times. 2000s. But talking of the year 2000. Right, back on track. Right, from the years 1989 to 2019 was what we'd call the Heisei Jidai, the Heisei era. So if you're in Japan in the year 2000, you wouldn't see it just written as just the year 2000, but also as Heisei 12 nen, Heisei 12 or Heisei 12th year. So that would mean if you were looking at the year 2001, you would see it written as Heisei 13 nen, Heisei 13. 2002, Heisei 14 nen, Heisei 14. You'll see it abbreviated all the time with he or a H. Right, yeah, and before Heisei Jidai, it was Showa Jidai, spanning years 1926 to 1989. Yeah, so if you're trying to suss out the Japanese date of any certain year, there's an online calculator somewhere that should sort you out, but as long as you know the beginning date, it shouldn't be much of an issue. Let's say it's like 1973, it's Showa 48 nen, Showa 48, but if you don't have dates like that memorized, you just count from... Well, people wouldn't count to 48. Right. By the time you do that, it's just, you go online. Alright, there's charts. Hey, we could have a chart. Oh, that's true, we should draw one up after this. Right. That's a lot of years. It is a lot of years. And each of those years have a very special meaning. Oh, the segues. That's right. So you might be thinking, Showa, Heisei, what do all those words mean? Are they like the names of emperors, like in the UK? Nope. Gengo or Nengo, Japanese years names, have a totally different naming convention, like we were just saying earlier. I think they're not just clerical. The kanji that's used to write it, the context of the kanji, the references, the implications, it's all a harbinger for the climate intended for the reign of that current emperor. Harbinger, I say harbinger all the time, by the way. I was just going to say, that's a great word, harbinger. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what Gengo or Nengo embodies, I think. Right. Oh, but try this one on for size. Zeitgeist. Ooh. Gengo or Nengo is meant to again harbinger the zeitgeist of the coming era. Looks like somebody's been using that word as a calendar. Indubitably. In that same vein, you look at the Heisei Jidai, the kanji he, alone, it would be pronounced differently, but for this we'll keep it simple. So Heisei is made up of two kanji, he and sei. He is meant to mean peace, and sei is meant to be become or reach. So in this case, because the verbs in Japanese go at the end of the sentence, it means reaching peace or becoming peace. And, well, should I pretend that this is some sort of exclusive news or something that we're revealing? Oh, either way. Would you like to say it, the new era? Maybe. I don't want to take it from you, though. Oh, I don't mind. Alright, but you can explain the kanji if you like. Sounds lovely to me. Alright, so on the 1st of April in the year 2019, the current era was revealed. Presented on a pristine sheet of calligraphy paper, 2 character strokes in contrasting black ink. The 1st of May in the year 2019, we enter the Reiwa Jidai. Welcome to the Reiwa era, but what does it mean? Well, the kanji itself is only half the story. The council actually crafted this name in secret. Oh, right, and it was revealed like a month early to give the calendar makers and programmers and whatnot time to give them time before it began. It could have been another Y2K. Y2K? Yeah, Robocalypse. The infrastructure of businesses and programming of whatever. Do you remember Y2K compliance? Well, I guess have you read about it at least? Oh yeah, I've watched The Simpsons. Right, well basically, I guess it wouldn't be on a worldwide scale, but to put it in terms for the layman, the change in era basically wouldn't be legible to the systems and software because it's not in their programming. Like, it couldn't be in their programming yet because it was only just revealed. Well, that's why they gave them time in advance. Right, but, I mean, I'm just saying. Robocalypse. robot apocalypse.
I gathered. So, Robocalypse aside, even though that would be totally different to Y2K, by the way, the kanji itself referenced the manyosha, which should sound familiar if you've read our article on Japanese writing. It's written in manyogana, which is... Manyogana is basically the original form of Japanese writing which used Chinese characters for the sound rather than the meaning, which is why there are a few of those words that just sort of don't make sense in kanji.
Right, because they're originally manyogana.
Exactly, why it gives a loosest translation. A fun fact here is it's the first time a Japanese poem was referenced for gengo. I think I have part of the poem here on my phone. So it's from Ume no Han no Uta, which is 初春の冷月にして木よく風和らぎ梅は狂然の甲を開き蘭は背後の甲を香らす
So, it's taken from re in 冷月 and Yawaragi's wa kanji.
Right, and yarawagi is more of a poetic word that, well, at least I haven't heard it used conversationally.
Yeah.
It's basically used to mean friendly and calm, peaceful sort of environment or mentality.
Right.
And Reigetsu is basically an auspicious month.
So, it could really be seen as lucky peacefulness.
Well, there's an official translation, but I'll get into that in a moment. A translation of the poem, since that's what people will be looking at, is in a fair month when the air was clear and the wind a gentle breeze, plum flowers blossomed a beauty's charming white, and the fragrance of the orchids was their sweet perfume. So, the Prime Minister of Japan said, well, I'm obviously paraphrasing in case some articles have a similar translation because obviously it was originally in Japanese, but basically it's supposed to be about basically Japan blossoming like a plum blossom in spring after a harsh winter, which I can only imagine is in reference to the economic turmoil as well as other disasters that had taken place. But overall, the theme here seems like the point of referencing a purely Japanese poem was to bolster nationalism and unity. The manyosha includes poems from everyone, from nobility to farmers, so he mentions taking pride in our nation's rich and beautiful culture and etc.
Sounds lovely to me. Sounds like it captures the zeitgeist of the times, I guess.
Right, but I mean, here's the thing that's just a bit odd to me. I mean, I'm not aiming to be controversial, obviously, but the point of it all seems to be its innate Japaneseness rather than the Chinese poems referenced prior. But this poem, there are people saying that this was lifted from a previous classical Chinese poem.
Oh, really?
Which isn't a problem, of course, but it's just sort of, it points out my personal, well, this is a personal comment, not a teaching comment, so it's just sort of, it's for conversation's sake. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but, well, of course, pride in your country is lovely, and Japanese culture is wonderful, and I think it's a beautiful sentiment, but I would have to say that the things like this, that make me feel more like an earthing, you know, like a citizen of Earth. Because even in things like this, where the point was to have something purely Japanese, and I think you find out how much more diverse everything really is. It's more of a pride in how no matter the country, even the most traditional traditions seem to come from everywhere. I mean, does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, I understand. Like you can't hold your own culture higher than others because, all in all, it's just, you know, it's part of Earth culture as a whole.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how that would be controversial.
Well, I just, it seemed like a huge point that they made that this was Japanese, therefore it was somehow more indicative of the Japanese people as a whole.
But technically, even in what you just said, it really did then. Because it's something that's taken from more than one culture.
Right. It's so I guess before I get any further, there's an international translation that's agreed upon, and I mentioned this because again, I don't want to make anything sound controversial, but it's just giving the facts.
Right, again, information isn't controversial, it's just information.
Well, that's true.
But I remember a lot of news articles, news sources were focused on the literal possible translation.
Right.
And I mean, hey, we can't predict the future or speak for the Japanese monarchy.
Exactly.
So, I mean, we're just a messenger.
Right.
The teacher's here, it's just information.
Yeah, because, so the international agreed upon translation of Reiwa is beautiful harmony, but that's only understood in context, because there can be translated as orders, ancient law, command, or decree, whilst wa connotes harmony, Japanese style, peace, soften, or Japan.
Yeah.
So it could literally mean decreeing peace, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
But news sources were taking it to mean ordering or commanding Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds threatening.
Yeah.
To people who wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Again, it's referencing plum flowers in blossom and the auspicious and fair month in spring when a gentle breeze passes, so
the Prime Minister was also saying it had to do with the time of the announcement.
Right, especially with Hanami being originally focused on plum blossoms.
Yeah, so it's much softer despite the dichotomy of the kanji.
Exactly, but I mean,
again, we're not here to get involved in earth politics.
Yeah, but it's I figure it's interesting to get our feelings out once in a while. Well, my feelings anyway.
Right.
I don't think I'm one to don tatemae, but I guess whilst we're on the subject, it's quite interesting because there was literally a constitutional change made to allow Emperor Akihito to abdicate.
Right.
If not, he literally would not have been allowed to.
Right, and he's been talking of abdication for several years now due to advanced age and being unable to fulfill his duties.
And so his son, as of the time that this airs, Emperor Narihito, previously Crown Prince Narihito.
He would be the leader of the Reiwa era.
Yeah, and anything else I was just thinking of gets a bit too political and people might not find that as fun.
Well, I think we're pretty unbiased, but I mean, I don't think that's really our area anyway.
Well, I suppose if in future, if people are interested in how the Japanese government generally works, I mean, we could outline it.
Yeah.
Definitely, after we get a bit further into language and writing though.
Exactly.
But definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Wow, so a new era.
Yeah, we were hesitant to even make this because it's not exactly topical, but it's not exactly evergreen.
Exactly, but it's important. It's a historical event that will apply for generations, so it's not as though it's something that happens every year. So it's something that we reckoned useful, I guess, is what I would say, especially as a first show.
Yeah, a new show and a new era. It's just sort of the general feeling in Japan, honestly, I think. A new era for a fresh start.
We're still making live action videos though, as well.
Oh yeah, yes. It's just a new way to learn and have a laugh. Reading articles, watching videos, listening to the radio show.
Right, because I know I quite like listening to radio still, in the Reiwa era.
It's really something to think of, just all that's happened in the Heisei era.
I know, I don't think that there's even a way to encapsulate over 30 years in the time we have left.
No, but we do have just enough time for our favourite Heisei era computer friend, Quizbot, in a segment we'll call Quippings with Quizbot.
That's probably a misnomer already. I'm sure he's not literally going to give us quips.
Well, there's not many words that start with Q. I mean, you know that mean word or phrase. He picked the name himself, so...
Oh, well, it's not bad.
But who knows, he could give some witty remarks. You can't typecast him because he's a computer.
Oh, well, I'm sure he's got a great sense of humour. We just don't talk often, so.
Well, without further ado, we'd like to welcome Quiz-Bot. It just, it takes a second to boot.
Oh, of course.
It's just a second.
ついにルパンを再び見る暇ができた。最近のルパン？いえ、最初の昭和時代のルパン。そっか、面白き。
Hello, I am Quiz-Bot. どうも、Thank you for having me.
Quiz-Bot くん、welcome. 聞いてくれてありがとうございました。What sort of word or phrase do you have for us today?
Today's vocabulary phrase is an idiom or a Japanese proverb known as ことわざ.
Oh, an idiom. How fancy.
Yes, it is fancy. えへん。
Did he just clear his throat? He doesn't even have a throat.
優秀の美を飾る材料ムイズ。優秀の美を飾る。
優秀の美を飾る.
How apropos.
So basically this means, to go out on a high note.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you say 優秀の美, it's literally saying perfect beauty, but it's translated as crown and glory. 優秀 is perfection and 美 is beauty. 飾る is to decorate.
Right, sometimes people translate it as adding a crowning touch or decorating the end with beauty, quite literally.
Perhaps, it would be helpful if you used it in a sentence.
Good idea, Quizbot. A sentence.
I have a few ideas, but I'm just trying to choose. It's really difficult to come up with a simple sentence.
Oh, well, it doesn't have to be extremely simple since it's sort of a complex concept.
Right.
I don't know why Quizbot choseことわざ for the first phrase.
Because it is the end of the Heisei era.
Oh, that makes sense.
It is to go out with a bang.
That's what I figured.
Right, I wasn't thinking about it.
So, I'm always reminded of the episode of Seinfeld.
I think you're always reminded of an episode of Seinfeld.
But, there's the episode where George always makes sure that he goes out on a high note.
Oh, right.
毎日に優秀な美を飾るようにするために、ジョージさんは何かいいことを言った後で、いきなり会議室を立ち去りました。
Can we get that again, but just a little slower?
毎日に優秀な美を飾るようにするために、ジョージさんは何かいいことを言った後で、いきなり会議室を立ち去りました。
So, to make sure he ended on a high note every day, after George said something good, he'd leave the meeting immediately.
Yes.
Beautiful, like poetry.
I couldn't think of anything else, any way to put it into a sentence. It's usually to describe when someone ends their career with like a flourish or, like a school career as well.
Right, but in the original context of the idiom, we'll let it pass. But hopefully we can end this show on a high note.
I doubt it. Well, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed and learned something about Japanese eras.
We wish you every happiness in the Reiwa era.
And to support the show, visit us at ieAndigoEAST.com and share us with your friends, family, enemies, strangers. Everyone is welcome.
For those who want to support new and even better content whilst getting behind the scenes looks, please visit us at patreon.com/ieAndigoEAST, or I think there's an area for it at ieAndigoEAST.com. 聞いていただいてありがとうございました。
And thank you for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, listening, and watching. Until the next Kiki+Koko Let's NihonGO Radio Show.
お楽しみに。
この番組はスペーラとボト ieINDIGOEAST.com& リスナーズライクユーの提供でお送りしました。Thank you.